With us now is Lauren B. Martin. Welcome
Hey
to the
there.
show. Hey there. How are you?
I'm so good in this crazy world that we're living in, right?
What was one of your favorite television shows growing up?
Oh my goodness. My favorite television shows, I mean, I loved The Love Boat
Okay.
because of just the crazy cast of characters, and I guess being Caribbean, it sort of did something for me. I loved The Love Boat, but I loved that Dynasty Falcon Crest stuff,
Me
which
too.
might have been something telling what was going to happen to me later in life.
Yeah, you never know. It could be like foreshadowing of your own journey. Um,
Exactly.
so me too. I liked that. I liked Fantasy Island, and a lot of times when you're single and you're a teenager and you don't have a boyfriend, and for me, I was a cheerleader in high school. I did a lot of social activities. I belonged to a patriotic singing group, but there was always that time that I remember just like television that only came on at a certain time, and you wanted to be home for that show because if you didn't see it, you missed it.
That's the truth. I mean, I think that kind of translated further on as you get into college and you start. Um, I mean, as I got to know more of the fans from some of the work that I did in the past, I would find that there would be students that would say, they plan their class schedule around A, B, and C shows.
Wow, that's very nice. So, and I believe you're kind of rare because you were doing soaps, but it wasn't just one soap. You've appeared in different soaps and different characters.
I have. I was very blessed to start my journey on Another World. And then from Another World, that led me to As the World Turns. And then from As the World Turns, that led me to Guiding Light. And then I jumped ship for a second and I went over to All My Children to ABC for a moment. So,
And I really do, we should probably research that. I'm wondering how many people have gotten a chance to play a part on each of those different things. Fans will walk down the street and they might call you out by your character name, like, hey, and then you could always tell, what they were a fan of, which one, right?
it's so strange because there are, I think for the most part, most people know me for the one role, but some other folks, in the most wonderful, warm way, have a very proprietary sense from some other roles. And I think, I meet people from different countries sometimes that they'll say they'll recognize me from something, and I pray that my goodness, it must be running on some residual check somewhere in Sri Lanka that somebody.
You're like, have you, did you keep a log of all the different parts you've played in all the different projects?
No, and I should
Okay.
have. I
Oh,
have to. And I say this in the most humbling of ways. So I'm launching a new website, which will be coming out, and in the process of doing that, I really had to do a kind of a deep dive into stuff that I just didn't have. We don't have VHSs anymore, so I had to really to find people that were collecting all of these shows on YouTube or what have you. And there's some fella, and I have to really figure out his name and give him a shout out because he had collected so many episodes of As the World Turns that I saw episodes that I remembered and wept, really just
wow.
wept and just said like, wow, that person is no longer with us, they're deceased, or just kind of like the journey. I think that speaking of which, there's somebody who works on your staff that was a stand-in for me on The
Yes.
Blacklist,
Yeah, that's
uh,
true.
Miss Amanda, I believe, right?
Yes, that
and
is her name.
and I never saw the show. And there are shows I have Law and Order episodes I haven't seen, and it's not because for a long time I didn't have cable. I'll just be honest. So,
Well, and you're doing so much now, and it was funny because we have our team. I research you. We've talked on the phone. We became friends, and then our staff, they're putting together like note cards and stuff. So this is so funny because you've done so much work, Lauren, that it's like it's got the extra flap. You know what I'm saying?
oh,
It's like it's got all these. Yeah, I said, yep, she's the same one that did that. She did this. She did that. She did that. Yep, that's also her, and she won this award, and she's amazing, and blah blah blah. What is exciting for me now, though, is that you're doing your own series. You're going to be launching something all about reality of what it's like to be who you are now.
Yeah, I mean, it is so I started writing a one woman show situation a while ago, really out of a dare. And a friend of mine said, I don't think that people see you as being funny because you always play these, sort of tragic women. And, what ends up happening is, which is a great thing, but once you can cry well, which I love crying. I'm a triple Pisces. What are you going to do? But there's another side. And so I started jotting down some things and videotaping moments, videotaping, God, I'm aging myself, camera phone, recording moments of funny things that were happening. And then as I was trying to put this together, I really saw a story unfold and I saw a cast and I said, this isn't the one woman show. There's something else that this has to happen. So I reached out to a writer that I knew and that I respected. We're both from Boston. We both have kind of a crass sarcasm. And we started writing the show Reality Sets In, which is based loosely on, I mean, the worst aspects of ourselves, on characters that are at a certain age that the gold dust is the tarnish is showing, and trying to figure out how to recapture their lives and their livelihood, and romances that are failed, and rediscovering themselves. So Reality Sets In is a comedy, and we go, for lack of a better term, all balls in.
I love that. We talked too on the phone, and my show, as I told you, is all about celebrating life, and it's all positive, and it's all like, like yay, happy, happy, happy. That's the show. That's the brand of living it up. But I did want to touch upon a couple of things because you mentioned something that I thought was so important, and that is the fact that you are of mixed race. And we wanted to talk about what that means to you in your journey right now. And I wanted to just give you a little bit of a platform for you to be able to talk about that. And so here's a moment, Lauren, if you will, to shed some light from your perspective to the audience.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This year has certainly shown us a lot about where this country isn't. And it is racism and all that goes with that is long, 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 deep ingrained in this country and in families. And the story that I'm getting ready to tell is mine. And it is last year around this time, I decided that I would do an ancestry test. I didn't know any of my birth mother's family my entire life. I knew my grandmother, and that was it. And my grandmother was one of initially 13 kids, and then of course during the Depression and a lot of them died as children. But when I was born, there was 5 sisters, and they all had their own kids and their own families. And because of my race, they chose not to know me. So they lived as close as 20 minutes away, as 40 minutes away, and I've never met them. And when I've talked to people this year about race and about the very difficult questions about raising your children, and really, as Jada Pinkett Smith is my cousin, and so, Will is my cousin, and as Will has been quoted as saying, racism isn't new. It's just we're taping it now. We're filming it. We have camera phones. And so during the time of this pandemic, I believe that all of a sudden American eyes were looking at their televisions. They were uncomfortable about what they were seeing. There wasn't a way to get past this. It was either in the streets being marched for. It just was an air that had changed. And I had many friends that certainly know my story reaching out to me and saying, how do we have conversations? How do we talk to our children? How do I be a better person to not understand, really, I didn't understand what white privilege is. Now, when you're a person like myself, who is basically a white passing person of color, you see and hear some of the most terrible things. When you're in a room and nobody knows that you are of color, the things that come out of people's mouths. When you're on a first date with somebody and you haven't bothered to mention to them that you're Jamaican, because why would you think to? So in my own story, I really had to go back to what really was broken in me. And what was broken in me was, how do you love your body? How do you love yourself if one half of your DNA didn't love you? So the journey that I'm working on now, and it's hard. I've got, 5,000 notebooks of notes of anguished teenage things and adult feelings that I'm trying to really transcribe and put into this next project, which will really be about talking about race and, most importantly, understanding what pieces of that journey were broken so that I could heal them, and have healed many of them, to move forward in my relationships now.
I'm so glad to know you.
Me
I just
too.
am.
I'm just so mad that I'm not there, and I can't hug you, but soon enough.
Yes, soon enough. We've talked about so many things, and there's so much more. I could just spend a whole hour with you, but here you are, very highly successful, many times over, and now you're doing your own project, and it's going to resonate so well with others, Lauren. And I wanted to tell you, just thank you for taking those challenging times for yourself and turning them into something that's going to make a difference. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's amazing to hear. It's I have to tell you, it is it's daunting, but I don't even want to get emotional about it, but like, I have an amazing psychic that I work with who is basically like a therapist for me, and she didn't know this aspect, and even she said this story is something that you have to tell from your perspective, and also just for your soul. And so, years ago, you can't really see it. I don't know how you would see it, but there's a tattoo on my arm.
Okay.
Last of that story, that my grandmother, out of all of her sisters, she loved me desperately, and she took great care of me. And race was something very hard for her to even talk about because of the fact that she was, I think, angry at her own family. But on my arm is a tattoo in Irish and Gaelic that says, the word is Mishnach, and it means courage. And it means courage to fight what is unjust. And that is my sort of attachment to, my Irish family. And I am truly hoping that I will have the courage to forgive. So.
Well, you have the courage to do so many things, and happiness to you. And I'm sure I'll have you back on again. And I want to create something with you someday. I just do. I'm putting it out there. We're just gonna.
Your mouth to God's ears.
Okay.
I want to see those tiger couches.
Oh yes, absolutely. Blue tiger stripe. Thanks to David Santiago. Well, happiness always. Until we meet again. Thank you for being a guest on the show, Lauren B. Martin. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, my friend. Bye-bye.